Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, and today I'm going to be talking about Reacher, Season 1, Episode 1. It's called Welcome to Margrave. It is the first episode of a new show from Amazon Prime, based on the Jack Reacher series. It was books, then there was Tom Cruise movies. I have seen nor read any of those things. This ranked high on the Patreon pilot tier vote, so I'm here to talk about it. It's probably not something I'd have checked out otherwise, to be honest. Nothing about those Tom Cruise movies ever appealed to me, and replacing him with Hawk from Titans is not something that I think appealed to me or made it more appealing to me. So, but the basic gist of this is that Jack Reacher is your badass. He is your tough guy, no nonsense. He's got a bit of a wit, but ultimately he is bigger than most guys. He's well built. He's very skilled. He's very smart. He can analyze crime scenes. He can predict people who are going to be dangerous. He always is aware of his surroundings. The first episode kind of operates, not in total, but at the start of it's kind of a little bit like First Blood, in that he rolls into the small town Margrave and he's picked up because he is suspected of a murder. And this episode kind of like introduces to the main police officers that we're going to be dealing with throughout the show. One of whom is Clive from iZombie, which is cool. Nice to see him in something again. And then his potential love interest, I presume, and just set up the CD. I mean, I say it starts a little bit like First Blood, just because he's arrested and has to deal with the police a little bit. I guess the thing that I'd compare it to more is something like Roadhouse, where the plot of this show seems to be badass rolls into town and there's a corrupt like businessman or rich family who control the town, and there's a lot of crime going on that seems to be related to them, and Jack Reacher is going to be the difference maker. He's going to be the one guy they shouldn't piss off, and they're going to, over the course of the show, I imagine, put him through hell, but he's going to keep coming because he's good at fighting, he's good at killing, he's honorable, he's noble, all these things. And it probably sounds like I'm comparing it to a lot of other things, and I'm saying it's this and it's that, because that's what it is. It is absolutely those things. I guess I just say, like, is it good or not? And to be honest, it's all right. Like, it's perfectly solid in its execution. It's a bit obviously derivative. It feels like you've seen this type of story before. I wouldn't say the actor here, Alan Ritchson, who's playing Jack Reacher, is bad in the role, but I wouldn't necessarily say he's the most compelling, like, ultimate badass who I've seen on a movie or a TV show. I wouldn't say that the action scenes are poor, but I also wouldn't say they stand out either. It's kind of, it's rocking just above that average, kind of like, it's not doing anything particularly bad, but it is a bit cliched, and there's a couple of scenes here or there. There's a few scenes early on where he doesn't talk for a lot of the episode, Jack Reacher, when he gets arrested and when he interacts with people, and he just kind of like stares at some people who are doing bad things, and they ultimately back down because he's so manly that they know they can't beat him. And it feels a little bit on the nose at times when it comes to those things, but by and large, if you know what you're getting into here and you want your kind of B-movie action hero style show, where there's going to ultimately be a personal tie to why he's in this town, and the locals who don't like him at first are going to end up thinking he's a hero and rooting for him and backing him up and all these things, which I guess is the biggest complaint is that I kind of already feel like I know where this whole thing's going. I kind of already feel like I know what all the beats are going to be by and large. It's got some humor in it, and I'd say the humor is serviceable and mildly funny at times, but not like to any great extent. Some of it is a bit groan worthy, not because it's poor taste or not because it's like fart jokes or anything like that, but just because it's like, again, you've seen it kind of done before. Like, they've got a zip tie on him in the police station, and they say, okay, we'll take it off, and he's like, no, I got this, and he just stands up and breaks it like he's Superman. And it's just all this, like, we get it, he's cool, he's tough, he's smart, he's the best thing ever, he's the best thing since sliced bread. We get what you're doing, show. And I don't know if, I think maybe I would like it a little bit more if it was just a little schlockier. Like, if it just, like, it's not, I wouldn't say it's taking itself like super seriously, but it's just a little bit in the dry side to really kind of just enjoy the more fun silliness that this could have for it. Maybe I think the tone's just slightly off for me. I feel like if you want a show that feels like a bigger or a slicker, I should say, a slicker version of like a network show with a badass hero with maybe more of a long-term season plot, I feel like this is probably going to do something for you. I think I would like it to be a bit schlocky or have a bit more style for it to work for me, and maybe, and this, I don't want to be harsh on the guy because I think he's fine in it, but like maybe a lead that was more exciting to watch. I think that's the big thing. Is he does feel like a TV actor doing this type of role, and the thing is that when you do have a Sylvester Stallone or I mean, I don't think Roadhouse was that good, to be honest. I only saw it for the first time like 2 years ago, and I was like, this is the movie Roadhouse that everyone's been harping on about. I don't know. Patrick Swayze, I don't think really stood out to me in that role. But when you think of action heroes and you think of the type of guys who can give one-liners or sound kind of cool, they tend to be big stars in movies because they have that quality. So they have this demand, so that keeps them in in movies. It keeps them in bigger things like that, at least for a period of their life. This guy, and I mean this with the utmost respect, is definitely just a solid TV actor, and he's fitting the role well enough. But I wouldn't say there's anything super compelling or original about this. There's nothing new. There's nothing that's going to make you go, oh, this is a fresh spin on all these old tropes. It's doing the thing. It's doing, and I assume the books are just like this, and that's why. I don't know what the movies are like. I mean, obviously the setup of this, which is he arrives in a small town, which he doesn't really plan on staying in, but ultimately everything going on is going to keep him here. I assume that feels more like a TV thing rather than something that would have been in the movie. The movie feels like it was probably bigger in scope. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that, and I don't know if it was different. Like, which one's more faithful to the book? Maybe this is more faithful. I don't know. But it does have a hook at the end, although the hook is pretty bad. And when I say bad, I just mean in the sense that it is the most TV writing 101 thing. Like, there's nothing exciting or surprising about it. It's a sort of like, oh, I'm shocked that this is your hook kind of thing. Like, I'll get into spoilers in a second. I don't want to spoil anything. None of there's really much to spoil, honestly. It plays out like a pretty simple series of tropes. I will say though, by and large though, the cast are completely fine. To get, like, they deliver the lines well enough. I think there's enough chemistry between the cast members and their interactions that it feels like it has a little bit of a spark. Not enough to make me really want to watch it anymore, but it's not. I mean, sometimes it's really tough to just come on camera and say something is just fine. But it's not for me. But I need to give you more words than that. So I'm trying to explain it. Yes, so I'll say spoilers now, just so I can talk about anything else that I want to. Because I need to talk about the ending and the hook. So, spoilers for the first episode. The end of the episode reveals that there's a second murder victim by the end. The plot throughout the episode is that he's suspected of a murder. He's got a pretty decent alibi which they're trying to confirm, but he ends up being so good at doing his Sherlock Holmes thing where he just sort of quickly recognizes a bunch of things and impresses Clive from iZombie that he decides to lock him up with a new suspect who's confessed to everything, but no one believes that he did the murder. So he intentionally puts Jack Reacher kind of against his will because there's still enough legal wiggle room for him to sort of get away with this. He puts him in jail with this suspect, thinking that this guy will just blab to him and give him some information, which leads to a big fight scene in the prison. It is fine. It's whatever. But there's a second murder later in the episode. And a lot of the episode is just kind of setting up that this suspect that's confessed is scared of some people in town through his business dealings. And there's this rich family we were told about by the end who's in cahoots with the mayor. This, it's very the evil rich guy in the town who's behind everything kind of thing. But towards the end of the episode, there's a second body, and they go to the morgue to deal with it. Where Guillermo from What we do in the shadows? We got zombie actors. What we do in the shadow actors? Any other supernatural monster TV show actors want to pop up? I welcome thee. But they go to see the body. But before he sees the body, actually, he hears a bunch of information about the body, and then it's like he thinks he knows who it is. So they go to see the body, and there's a big dun 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 when he says that this is how my brother got this scar, and it's his brother. And there is a flashback in the middle showing them as kids, which, you know, to set up the fact that he has a brother for a start. It's just one of those kind of eye-rolly things, and it's like, you know, Clive from iZombie kind of yells and says, "Usually it's a coincidence that your brother was here," and the connection seems to be that his brother's the one who got him into this musician who came to this town, which is why he came to visit this town. And he was asking locals about, hey, when this jazz musician was here, blah, 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 blah. Apparently this was all like something that his brother planted in his mind, because he ultimately one day knew that they need to come here for, or some, I don't know, like, it's just loosely set this up at this point. But the dun dun dun, the second dead body is my brother, is just, you know, it's TV 101. They might as well put in a dun 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 after it happened, because that's how it felt. And it's treated with this dramatic pause. It's taken very seriously in the moment, and you know, I'm not excited by this. I'm not excited in the fact that there's a family connection, and I'm sure there's going to be reasons, and I'm sure all those things, but it's not an exciting reveal, because it's very trite, it's very derivative, it's been done 1,000,001 times. Make that 1,000,002. So, that's the main thing. As far as anything else goes, there's not really much to say about other things. I guess it does a good job of giving you a vibe of the town, probably because he goes to see a barber towards the end who gives him a bit of a local history kind of thing, and he's walking through the town square. But it's notable that it kind of waits towards the end of the episode to give you that. It kind of spends a lot of time with him just at the police station and in the local jail. I say jail, I mean prison. It's there to set up a couple of things. The prison stuff is there to give us an action scene, because the episode needs a big action scene, but also, two, it's there to give us kind of the setup that people want him dead and know who he is, and also want this other suspect guy dead. And, you know, it functions fine enough. I honestly, I'll be honest, I wasn't sure if this episode was going to be solved, the murder was going to be solved by the end, until the last 10 minutes, where it felt like, oh no, this is setting up a season-long plot with this, like, evil, you know, guy who runs the town. Because for a lot of the episode I thought, oh, maybe he's going to like find out who the murderer really is in prison, and it might actually be, you know, story per episode as opposed to a serialized season-long story. I wasn't sure which way it was going until the last like 10-15 minutes. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Maybe it's neither. Maybe it's just, you know, it is what it is. But I wasn't actually sure until late in the episode, because I really thought that the solution to the murder might have just been revealed very quickly, and that's it. And because it kind of feels like it's setting up that the Clive who works here, who doesn't really get on with the other cops because he takes his job seriously. He went to, you know, I think he said he went to Harvard, so he went to fancy school. He's a bit more, you know, hoity-toity, I guess, for lack of a better term. And it does kind of feel like it's setting up a network TV thing, where it's like, oh no, he's going to bring in Jack Reacher because he's this great, tough, like, ex-military cop, and they're going to solve crimes together. It really feels like it's setting that up to a point, and it kind of still does have that feel to it. But then you sort of realize by the end, it's also the movie where the outsider comes into the town and he's the hero that they need to, like, finally overthrow the bad people who are corrupt and doing all the shady things, and there you go. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. I think if you want a good Jack Reacher thing, unless it, you know, pisses off book fans because it does something that the book didn't do or something, but I think if you wanted this type of show, if you were looking for just another retread of this type of story, it seems like it'll be a decent enough watch for that. But I would not call it appointment viewing. I would not call it must see, and I would not rush out to it. So I think you probably get a good sense of from what I've said if you're tired of all the story beats and character tropes that this is presenting you with. And if you're not, then give it a try. But if you felt tired with me just describing all the cliches that are in this, then you're probably going to, even though it's, again, none of them are done in the worst way that I've seen. It's very, very serviceable to decent in most of how it executes most of its things, but that doesn't really amount to much if you just don't care and you don't really want any of it anyway. So that is the first episode of Reacher from Amazon Prime. Let me know what you thought of the episode if you watched it in the comments, and if you watched the rest of the show. It's 8 episodes this first season. Do let me know what you thought of the whole show in the comments. Like, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications. All those things do help out YouTubers and help with the dreaded algorithm, so please do hit the buttons. You can also support us financially over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV for as little as $1 per month and keep all the content coming. So thank you once again for watching or listening. I always appreciate it. Keep watching TV. Have you got any vanilla?